All right, I honestly didn't think I would be back this soon with some more heartbreaking news coming out of Las Vegas, Nevada, between Nye County and Clark County. And so, if you guys remember a few days ago, I released a video. We were talking about a gentleman who was a school teacher who got pulled over for having what he thought were safe and sane fireworks. He went to Pahrump, he bought from Phantom, and his intention was to have some fireworks for his family because he had some coupons. Now, he lived in Las Vegas, made a trip to Pahrump instead of just buying directly from the booth because the booth, which Phantom technically owns, which is operated by boosters or volunteers from special nonprofit organizations, sold very similarly like products that are safe and sane. And so here today we have another story which was just taking place a few days ago of a lady who made a trip to Moapa to go buy some safe and sane fireworks, sparklers, basic novelties, fountains, or whatever the case might be. And she gets pulled over. She feels like she was watched. Now, mind you, this Moapa is on an Indian tribal grounds where they could do all that kind of stuff perfectly legal there. And so she was pulled over, she was caught, she was confiscated. Not only did they took her fireworks, she offered to take them back so she could get a refund. They told her no, and she got hit with a $500 citation. I'll give you guys my entire thoughts on the whole situation, but nevertheless, I've had this conversation with Pyros in the past about safe and sane means safe and sane. You can't some of these individuals, these officers, for the most part, they're pulling people over. And again, they're not lighting this stuff. I'll give you guys, a brief scenario playing devil's advocate. Let's say somebody goes somewhere to Pahrump, we'll just say Pahrump, buy some items, and let's just say they're disguised as fireworks. Well, the officers don't know that they're fireworks until you actually light them. Because what if they're just, I don't know if you guys did this back in the day, but we used to play this trick on people that would, steal stuff. So what you do is you put a nice item out there on the street, put a nice big bow on it, and come to find out they either took trash or they took the bag full of grass. Right? So you really don't know what's in it until you actually light it. No, it's a little kind of rough, but I just wanted to kind of give that scenario that you don't know what these things are when they actually confiscate it. But let's go ahead and listen to this story. I'll give you guys some commentation, give you guys my commentary while we're kind of going through it, because this sucks. I think this is entrapment. I feel it's entirely wrong for what they're doing, and hopefully this lady and the other guy get together, get some lawyers or whatever, and maybe file, maybe, I don't know if it'll be a class action, maybe civil rights, whatever the case might be, and really fight this. So let's go ahead and listen to what they have to say.
The Las Vegas locals we're hearing from say Metro isn't living up to its motto of being partners with the community by choosing aggressive enforcement over aggressive education. Oi. Game time at the Huntsman home is a little less lighthearted this week after the family's frightening encounter with police on July 1st. Were you scared?
Yeah, it was pretty stressful. 3 cop cars came up behind us, and there's like 6 cops surrounding us, and all the windows had to be rolled down.
On the way home from visiting a friend in Logandale, Denise Huntsman and her children decided to stop and get fireworks in Moapa.
Now, the cops asked them to roll down all their windows. I'm not sure if that's exactly legal to ask them to roll down all their windows. You guys have your rights against illegal search and seizure. I think probably the only mistake that these two individuals probably made was the fact that they didn't have blankets to cover up their stuff. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to tell you guys what's right and wrong. But I don't believe that you legally have to roll down all of your windows for something like this. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please just leave it in the comment section of this video, but that's not my cup of tea.
They could save a little money.
They had a really good deal on sparklers, so I got a bunch of those for the kids.
Spending just under $150 for products they were assured were safe and sane.
The security guard at the front entrance guided us to that section because I said, I only want to buy legal fireworks.
She says,
now, just so you guys know, you could actually ship a lot of safe and sane fireworks even from, wherever to California. Some of those are smokes. Some of those are party poppers. You guys know like those little wedding items. You can ship those as well. The ones that do the his and hers daytime, not daytime, gender reveal. Those are, they have the confetti and stuff. You can ship all that stuff. Sparklers as well, like wedding sparklers. You can ship those even to California. So I haven't heard anywhere in any of these videos or mentions that they isolated certain items, because it seems like everybody's getting all their stuff taken. It doesn't matter whether you have sparklers, party poppers, something that shoots confetti, which is perfectly legal. So I do personally believe that they have a case here, but we'll continue to listen.
Everything she bought looked exactly like what she's seen at local fireworks booths in Clark County.
Just a little bit cheaper, so that was exciting, you know.
But the excitement was extinguished when about 60 seconds after leaving the reservation, lights began to flash in her rearview mirror.
It was almost like they were scoping us out and kind of setting us up for failure. Like watching us go in here, knowing that we were making a purchase, and then watching us go out only for us to cross that boundary for them to come and pull us over.
What they were doing was just taking our fireworks, technically, that we paid for and we thought were good fireworks.
I did ask if they would please allow me to take them back to the store so that I can get refunded, and they said, ma'am, you're not going anywhere with these fireworks, these illegal explosive devices. And
illegal explosive devices. Now, based upon what she's saying in the story that she's communicating, it's not like they took each item piece by piece and told her this is illegal, this is illegal. It's like they just all lumped it up and said, oh, you bought some fireworks from here. These are all illegal. If you guys remember, again, I said this in the last video, 2 or 3 years ago, when Cal Fire was doing their stings, they were partnering up with TNT, partnering up with Phantom, against competitors. Say, hey, if we catch these fireworks, we're going to give them or sell them to TNT or Phantom Fireworks so they could use the powder. You cannot be in a position to do that. Forgot what the actual legal terminology is. It's not called unjust enrichment, but I forget exactly what it is. Like if you're working with a competitor where, let's say, TNT, Phantom, they have other competitors like, let's say, Area 51, Outlaw, Red Apple Fireworks and such. You can't work with law enforcement and target your competitors. Again, I forget the actual legal terminology. If somebody knows it, please comment on it. But again, it sounds like that's what they're doing, because there is a video before this one that I was listening to where the sheriff officers were saying, hey, you can only buy from TNT and Phantom. So I believe the legal terminology may be monopoly. So I believe some of these qualifications for what they're going through possibly falls under that, where they want the citizens of Clark County to buy from Phantom or TNT sponsored, city approved vendors, so that way they get a kickback as well. Let's continue.
They're not going anywhere in your car, and we're going to confiscate them. And I said, okay. So I just gave them the fireworks, and
What they give you in exchange?
they gave me a citation for $500 that I need to pay within like 15 days. So I'm out a lot of money, and I have no fireworks for 4th of July. So it kind of ruined the season a little bit.
Her family's story mirrors that of another Las Vegas local who reached out to 13 Investigates. Second grade teacher Errol Aiken and his daughters bought what they were told was legal from a store in Pahrump that had sent them a coupon. They got stopped by Metro, ticketed, and had their purchase confiscated within minutes of leaving the store.
They informed me they had plainclothes officers, and I said, well, great. If you had a plainclothes officer there, they would have noticed that I was asking employees, is it legal, is it legal, is it legal? They didn't, no comment to that with the police officer, but I thought.
Again, just to reiterate, not every firework in Pahrump or Moapa is what you would call illegal fireworks. From what these two individuals are describing, the police just doesn't want anybody from Pahrump or any other county buying fireworks and bringing it in. Again, you could go buy party poppers. Hell, I wonder what'll happen if somebody was at Walmart or Sam's Club and brought party poppers across the state line. Are they going to call those illegal? But yeah, you have smokes, you have your sparklers, and you have your other type of fireworks that typically wouldn't even fall under the big sparks or big fountain type, even the ones that are registered safe and sane, they're not even giving these individuals any type of distinction when confiscating their product.
But then I thought, why did they let me go out of the store if I was clearly identifying and asking, is this legal?
After that and other complaints, Nye County Sheriff Joe McGill told me he asked Metro to stop its covert enforcement actions at the Pahrump fireworks stores. And on Wednesday, Moapa Tribal Police sent Denise this email saying they'll look into what happened to her.
So they are doing these little sting operations because you have one law enforcement agency telling another one to stop doing it. So they know something. You know, I really hope the DA's office or I'm not sure if it's not Better Business Bureau, but I think it would fall under the FTC, or they would look into situations like this because they could follow the money, and if they're getting some type of kickback, they're going to be screwed.
Family.
I felt like I was scammed. I felt like I was set up for failure. I felt like I was deceived. I was deceived by both parties.
And in 2024, we started the campaign to enforce illegal fireworks sooner than the day of the 4th of July.
In a Thursday morning press conference, Metro, fire officials, and city and county leaders touted fireworks enforcement efforts.
The use of reader boards like the one you see on the screen to my left are put out in strategic areas, allowing people to see and be put on.
Now let's look at these crappy little boards. The LED lights are out on most of them. You can't see anything, especially when the light hits it. Some of them are missing pixels. You can't read half of this stuff if you're traveling. I think the speed limit there on that road is about, 65 to 75 miles an hour. And it doesn't tell you what kind of safe and sane. It just says illegal fireworks. So what's an illegal firework? That would be the equivalent of saying, hey, you can't bring drugs here. Well, what kind of drug? Are we talking about cocaine, or are we talking about aspirin? So imagine getting pulled over. They're telling you, hey, you can't bring drugs in this city. And then they confiscate all your aspirins and other stuff. That's typically medical approved. They just toss everything out. So there's no distinction here in terms of what they're doing. They're just calling all fireworks illegal. And all fireworks are not illegal, as we've discussed here on the channel.
Notice that the bringing of illegal fireworks into our community is something that we are not going to tolerate.
The reader boards say only safe and sane fireworks allowed, and that's what the Huntsman family and the Aiken family bought.
It's very wrong that they would not put up any signs, no warning that the fireworks all of them were illegal. And I would just tell them that.
Again, there's no classification or definition as to what's illegal here. Just everything from that particular city, either Moapa or Pahrump, is illegal, which definitely isn't true. So they haven't really informed them. I know it's not the cops' job to inform them of their rights or anything, but there's no distinction here of what's illegal or illegal.
Fix that.
I asked Under Sheriff Andy Walsh about what our viewers are calling an overzealous dragnet, catching people who believe they're following the law. Is that an effective use of your officer's time and the type of enforcement you want to be doing?
Yes, any illegal firework that we can prevent from coming back into our community is an effective use of our enforcement and an effective use of our resources.
Even when they're sold as legal and safe and sane?
I can't speak to what's legal and safe and sane or what the businesses in other counties or.
This jackass ought to have been able to answer that question. You know, I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. I mean, if you ask somebody, is fentanyl illegal? You would say, yeah, it's cocaine. Yeah, how about methamphetamines? Like, yeah, that's illegal. You could literally, you know what a crime is. You know what something wrong is. He's not answering the question because he doesn't know, because every firework has a different classification. And in most cases, you have to light it to find out. And he's not even the appropriate individual to answer that question, because you would need to go, there's a list. There's an actual list of what they typically would be considered safe and sane. But you know what? I've talked to fire marshals and they said they don't care. They just don't want to see it go up in the air. Nobody gets pulled over or caught for sparklers. And you guys know those sparklers with the metal rods and stuff? Do you know those are technically illegal? But guess what? They don't freaking care about that. It doesn't go up in the air. The only thing they care about is what goes on in the air. But at the same time, the police station, the police officers should also be educating people as well, not just saying what's illegal. Because honestly, if they were to stand in front of a judge like that and the person is intelligent enough to know their rules, rights, and remedies, you can't go off of what's illegal, just like the exact definition I just gave you about what's a drug. Are we talking about meth? Are we talking about fentanyl? Or are we talking about aspirin? You just can't say, hey, you got pulled over for having drugs on you without having different classifications or a better understanding of what is really harmful and what's not.
Jurisdictions tell their customers.
We asked Moapa's tribal administrator about that, and he deflected back to Metro, saying the Moapa Band of Paiutes is not an active participant in Metro's operation.
The stuff that's sold in other counties is not legal. It's don't bring it back. That's
No
what
matter what it is, even a sparkler.
I can't speak, Darcy, about a particular thing like a sparkler. I don't know about that incident. We can certainly, I have the people here that will look.
See, he doesn't know. Like I said, if you asked him about cocaine or meth, he would have gave you a straight answer. But this jackass doesn't. He doesn't know. He's not informed. And if anything, he would, if he was intelligent enough, he would actually have out the list of what's approved. Now, I'm not saying that list would be a valid point, but I'm just saying if you wanted to at least present some form of transparency, he would have actually had the list of what the fire marshal deems as what's approved in the county. And that's what they should have on those signs. But you can't see that stuff on those signs, and it's not the kind of sign that would articulate what the fire marshal has approved, because typically it's a long list. And so that's what they should also be giving customers, or that's what they should be giving people when they pull them over and say, hey, do you have these items on this list? And the person says, yes, I do. And then that should be in the case. But he doesn't know. He's not informed. He's not being fully transparent. And he's speaking from a place of ignorance.
Look into that for me. I promise you that.
While Walsh says Metro will continue doing surveillance and enforcement along the entry points into Clark County, 11-year-old Jace wants them to remember one thing.
Not everyone is buying those fireworks to be illegal. Like, we just wanted to do it to have fun and to, like, celebrate 4th of July.
Both of the folks that you heard from in our story are contesting those $500 citations, and Metro has agreed to look into what happened to the mother in Moapa. Reporting from Metro headquarters, I'm Darcy Spears, 13 Investigates. The Las Vegas.
Yeah, so, I think these people royally got screwed over. I definitely believe that they should get an attorney and fight this situation, because this is has a bigger underlying issue from what's going on here. This isn't just a one-time situation. This has to do with people being pulled over, just being given a flat answer of you have illegal fireworks, not telling them if every individual item is illegal. It's just that you bought some fireworks here from this county. And that seems to be more or less the definition of why they are being pulled over, as opposed to having a specific reason. For example, again, if a cop pulls you over and says, hey, do you have, they catch you with drugs and it's cocaine, they're not tossing the aspirin out. They're getting you for the actual drug. So each individual item. And then what's wrong on all of this too is that they're taking all of these items saying, hey, you have 500 pounds, 600 pounds, 1,000 pounds, or whatever the case might be. Well, out of how many of those pounds of firework were actually perfectly legal fireworks? You can't tell me if you go to a store, all 500 pounds of that is fireworks, and you have smokes, confetti, and other various things that I've mentioned here on the video. And then you write a person up a citation for some of that stuff. Again, that's like giving a person a ticket or years in prison and saying, well, they had drugs on them and they had 500 pounds of drugs. Let's say 500 pounds of methamphetamines and fentanyl, and then you had like another 100 pounds or so of aspirin. You're not going to get any charges for the aspirin or Tylenol or any of the case might be. So it really needs to be centered upon what individual items that they are trying to hone in on, the individual items that are actually illegal, and not just give them a flat out answer. So personally, again, I believe these individuals definitely need to get an attorney. They need to look into this. This is definitely falls under entrapment. But these are just my thoughts and concerns, not just opinion, but this is some factual matters, because this is a monopoly, especially if you find out that they're receiving a kickback from either Phantom or TNT, or there's some type of incentive from residents of Las Vegas having to buy those particular fireworks, particularly in their county. And again, I know Cal Fire, they put their foot in their mouth a few years ago, saying, "Oh yeah, they're working with TNT and Phantom, and give them a kickback and sell it to them and that kind of stuff." No, you can't do that kind of crap. That's a monopoly. That's illegal. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. This is Keo Boom Daiken. Consider liking, subscribing to the channel. If you guys also want to see my retro gaming and other tech videos, I do have my regular channel, Keo Daiken, where I do more tech and PC stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys later. You guys all have a great night.